Well, alternator gave out again. I bought this no name off Amazon, $163. I guess I'll share a link when I post the video. It just got delivered yesterday. I got the van back up on some ramps. And my workspace here, I still have my tent up. Gotta get some toys and junk out of the way here. Still dropping power steering fluid out, but no other oil is dripping from what I can tell. Here I am charging my battery once again. In case anyone's curious, I've got this big high-tech power box here. 50 amp output. Let's get this output. It's got 3 switch 10 amp outputs. Right there you can adjust voltage with an analog dial right here. Looks like it's off right now. Probably, okay, I got a capacity charge on this right now. So and this just runs right on over the battery. So far so good on this. I can probably run this again. I just have a timer on it right now, so I can watch the voltage and come check it periodically. Not proper AGM battery charging, but it's just a lead acid program right here. But it's been doing the job for several months, and I just don't pump it too hard, I guess. So yeah, this will show the current draw here, 13.5 amps. I got it set for 20 amps, and it's smart sensing something, so let's see how that goes. But that's been working well so far. When my alternator is not working, I charge at nighttime, and then I drive all day, and by the time nighttime comes around, I will not have enough power and energy in the battery to run the headlamps at night, so I run back home and charge again for the next day. Yeah, so I'm gonna get down there. I'm gonna take another look at the alternator, see if there's any oil on it. If you've been watching the history of this, you know that that's been oil soaked many times over. I've fixed the oil leak, so now we have now we don't have any worries there. So let me check it out, wipe it down a little bit, and look to see what it will take to get it out. I know that a nice small 1/4" driver with a 10mm socket might help to get that 4th funky bolt off to get the alternator out. So hopefully one of those two will work for me. If not, I will figure it out somehow. All right, let me clean up some space here and get some kind of cardboard to lay down there. I might have some somewhere. Back in a few. Haven't looked under here for a week, mainly because I've been bedridden with a nice gouty foot. But I'm glad to see that there's no significant oil dripping through the alternator still. I didn't touch this or wipe it or anything yet. We've got something here. It's not significant. That could be coming from anywhere, I guess. Some stuff's wet, but what I'm concerned about here is I'm seeing over here this again, or still rather. And also I'm seeing this white powdery residue, which from my understanding is coolant, and I want to say then that this yellow is the gold Xerox G05 I was using, maybe, which is not that big a deal then. I could just check all the hoses and whatnot and see what's going on and try to take care of that. I do believe I want to put a new radiator in soon. So we've got coolant running through these hoses here. I don't know what coolant's in there though. I think that's isolated to the transmission cooler, the little accessory one that's up front. But I definitely have coolant spraying somewhere, because even way up here on the resonator I'm seeing a little splatter of white chalky powdery residue, and it's kind of back splattered around here. So I don't know, I mean, it's not significant. It's a point where I'm scared and worried and need to break it all back down right now. Though I'd like to understand exactly what's what that is. I don't know. I'll get to it here soon enough. Let me focus on the alternator now, and then see what to do from there. Let me wipe some of this down. Yeah, so I'm seeing even a drop sitting here on the harmonic balancer. I don't know, a little concerned, but I'm going to put it on the back burner for the moment and try to figure out what's going on with the alternator or swap it out right now. Obviously, let me cut that off there for a minute. So thankfully, it's not too horribly dirty here. I've hosed it down a million times, rinsed it off, and used electronics cleaner on there and spray, and got most of the oil and gook off of there. And now should make for a slightly easier job of swapping it out now. I'll show details about the new one when I unbox it here in a moment, but let me start figuring out these bolts here. So I've got 4 of these bolts, 2 here at the bottom and 2 at the top. I watched just only a handful of YouTube videos out there on swapping this alternator out. All of them seem to complain about those 2 bolts at the top, especially one of them. So I got a small small ratchet and a small 1/4 inch drive ratchet and a 1/4 inch well, that's not 10 millimeter. Let me see what I can figure out how to get this off. But those are what are they, E12, I think. So let's see what I can do to get myself up in there. I'm gonna have to take off this bracket and also the the shining turbo resonator, the aluminum pipe delete right there, which I need to kind of play with anyway and check out that O-ring and see if I've got some boost leak happening on that. So let me get in here. The alternator woke back up yesterday, by the way. I thought, oh gosh, day it shows up, the new alternator open starts working. But then as soon as I shut the motor off, when I started again, it wouldn't come back on. But it seems to happen only after a long drive on a hot day. And it happened all the time on long drives, on hot days, when the oil was leaking out of the front crankshaft seal. But only when the oil was low did the alternator come back on. So that just kind of told me that when the oil stopped spitting all over this thing and soaking it, that's when it decided to start working. So after a month of doing that, it finally gave up the ghost and changing it out now. Let's see what I can do to clean up a little bit and see how well I can get my hands up in there and what has to come off exactly. Back up top here, things I'm going to have to pull out to get better access to the alternator would be obviously the heat shield here. Let me get this cable chase out of the way. Mass airflow sensor and the air hose connecting down to the turbo. That lower intercooler hose going down there to the intercooler from the turbo resonator. The turbo resonator itself and that bracket it's connected to. That should give me pretty good access there. While I'm up here, I don't see any coolant, dry coolant up at the top here, so I need to figure out where that is. I hope it's not coming out of the water pump gasket or something. I'll just put that in. I don't feel like taking all that back apart right now. But let me start pulling some of this stuff out. Got everything out of the top. Coming underneath here now to try to get this turbo resonator out. I remember I had a real heck of a time trying to get it off of here, but I think it's just because I didn't have the right sockets and things. So I think these are E8 bolts. I'm going to see what I can do to get them out of there. The only thing I can get in there is this teeny tiny 1/4 inch drive breaker bar and the E8 socket. I thought I'd be able to get this little stubby guy up there, but the head is too big of the ratchet to do it. So I'm going to try this, and I've got a good grip with the E8, but all these coolant lines and whatnot are in the way. So let's see what I can do. Wish me luck. I did it. This little teeny tiny breaker bar did the job. I guess it's also fortunate that I was too stressed and too tired to put the bolts back in really tight. when I first got it out. So as soon as I broke them here, they just hand tight rolled out with just the socket and my fingers up there. So I'm hoping that this little guy here is going to save the day when it comes to getting the alternator out. Those top bolts that are supposed to be really difficult way up in there somewhere. We shall see. Okay, back up on top here. So the bolts are off the resonator delete pipe, and that detaches it from the bracket down there. Now I always wondered, it didn't make sense to me that such a high pressure output here from the turbo would just be cinched on by those two bolts that aren't even right next to the joint here, or the seal between the turbo and this resonator delete. So I don't know, it just seems like a critical part right there. There'd be some kind of a clamp or some kind of something holding it together there tighter to keep it up in there. Because I always questioned the fitment of this. I mean, it wasn't loose, but you could wiggle it a little bit. But I'm going to pull this out here, maybe, and see. That's interesting. Okay, so I used, when I put it in here, some white lithium grease on an O-ring that didn't seem like it fit perfectly, but I don't know, maybe that's intact. I'll revamp it and go through it again, make sure I get it all in there nicely when I put it back together. So this goes over in the parts pile. And what are the next steps here? I think I'm going to tuck some shop towels or something in the turbo, just so I don't drop anything in there, flake some rust in there or something. Okay, so I can see one bolt on the alternator there, right there. And the other one is up under that bracket, I think. So let's get down in there and see what I can do. Let me take the wires. Let me take the battery. Let me disconnect the battery first, and then I'll get some wires undone down there. I'd rather not have the alternator hanging from wires. If I unbolt it and it just sits there, probably not a good idea. So let me look at getting this bracket off, disconnect the battery, disconnect wires, get this bracket off, and see if I can get all 4 bolts. Alright, back underneath here, I see this is actually something I'll have to pull off. It looks like a little plastic tab here. Get that out of my way. And then the bracket is held on by the actual alternator bolts. This one and one up on top. So I don't take the bracket off first. I kind of do it in the process of taking the alternator out, I guess. I see 2 wires in here. One coming to right here and one coming to right here. I did watch some YouTube videos on rebuilding an alternator and pulling out the voltage regulator and brushes and whatnot. I don't want to go through all that right now. I'm just going to put in the new alternator and then take this apart and see if I can clean it out properly. You can see there's a lot of oil still there in the windings. And I'll check the clutch also. I'm just curious to see why this failed. And then possibly repair it, possibly put this one back in. But for the time being, I'll use the new one, or just fix this one up and sell it to somebody cheap who can use it. It's a 150 amp Bosch, I believe. I know it's 150 amp. I'm guessing it's the Bosch one. I can't see it up in there right now. So let me disconnect the battery and then pull these terminals off, and then start working on these 4 bolts over here. I can tell that one bolt up there is going to be very difficult. So let's see how it goes. I keep saying that. Let's see how it goes. It's a quick rundown of the bolts here. These are an E12 bolt here. It's an E12 socket. Fits nicely on here, the 4 alternator bolts. This is 8mm here to get this lead off. And this is actually a 13mm. I've seen a couple YouTube videos now that say 12mm, but it doesn't fit. So mine is a 13mm. I don't know if that was a mistake on their part or it's different on mine, but that's definitely a 13mm socket. 8mm socket for those 2 conductors that connect to the alternator, back of the alternator, and this is an E12 right here. So got these 2 leads off of here. Again, it's really important to disconnect your battery. You don't want to be touching this against something grounded and have a shower of sparks here in your face underneath the vehicle, I'm sure. I'm guessing that's what's going to happen. So as I started wrenching on these bolts down here, I realized, oops, I've still got my serpentine belt on. I'd really rather not see this thing get snatched up and bounce around in here because of the tension on that. So let me go up top. And I need to get down in there on the tensioner pulley. Why is this thing like glaringly bright everywhere? California sun, I guess. I use a 17mm socket on the pulley and loosen it and then pull the belt off. So let me do that now. I think it's easier from underneath. You look up in there is where the post is on the tensioner pulley. So I'm going to get that up in there, and I've got just a small breaker bar here, but it usually does the trick with a 17mm socket. I don't think I'll be able to do it while on camera, or maybe. That's right. Right there. And I think you pull toward the driver's side. Yeah. I can't do it with the camera on. See you in a moment. Actually, I probably could have done it on camera from this side, but here you just pull this loose here. You can see the pulley moving, or the tensioner moving back in there, the pulley on it, and then I usually pull it off the AC compressor here, and then it should come off nice and easy from the alternator as well. I'll try to leave that kind of sitting, so I don't have to reroute the whole thing, but I usually have to reroute the whole thing anyway, so I don't need the little sticker anymore to figure out where it goes. I remember most days. I don't think I'll be able to demonstrate here very well, but a quick test of the clutch, from what I understand, is here's the alternator pulley I'm moving, and here are here's the motor. See, I guess the armature back in there spinning, but you can spin this and stop it. I can't spin it fast enough with one hand. Spin it and then stop it, and you should still see the motor moving on the inside. So it should be able to free spin, and I don't know if you can tell in this video or not, but it's definitely happening, and I think it does it properly right now. So if I stop it, it still free spins a little bit. It doesn't do it in the opposite direction. It locks in the opposite direction, but if you spin it, I guess if you're facing the alternator shaft, it's facing it from the front this direction, and you spin it clockwise. Is that right? Clockwise, and then stop it. You'll see the armature on the inside, I think armature is the right word, spin, and then spin a little bit further before it stops. It's doing the same thing I saw in some YouTube videos, so I think that part's okay. So it was not my clutch on the alternator that was giving me a problem. Got these bolts here, loose and hand tight where the threads are still in there. I kind of don't want an alternator dropping on my head. I don't think it'll happen, but just in case. So I'm going to try to get all 4 bolts loose like that. I don't know if you can see up in there around that glaring light. The other bolt's right there. I might get that one from the top. I still don't know how to go after that one yet. Good old Zimoletta attacked this from the top, so I'm going to try to do that myself first. Let's go up there and look. Yep. Should be easy enough right there. The other bolts. I don't know, turbo's in the way. I'm going to take this top bolt off completely, and the other one on the other end of this bracket off completely. Get the bracket out of the way, and then pull this little wire or hose off of there. See if that makes it a little bit easier. All right, top bolt's out. Bottom bolt here, soaked in oil, by the way, from the good old crankshaft seal there. We'll take this out. Now this bracket is loose. Let's see if I can get up in there and take that wire clip off. Oh, yeah, it's gonna be a minute. Nope, bracket's off. A little rusty. Might give that to my 8-year-old to clean up and wire brush off and Maybe paint that with some engine paint, some fire engine red or something. Let's see where I stand. Alright, this little guy here does the trick. It gets me all the way up in here. Got all this clearance here. It's a teeny tiny 1/4 inch drive breaker bar with a 1/4 inch drive 10mm socket. It's not the E12 that it's supposed to be, but at least it fits on there well enough, and the bolt wasn't too tight. I was able to break it, and now it's just a matter of pulling this bolt out of here. It's like a mile long. We'll see how it goes. Again, I said see how it goes. Alright, so I got all 4 bolts out, but now this sucker here is a puzzle to get out here. I don't know if I got to pull this bracket off. That's connected to that hard hose pipe thing going up to the water pump. This bracket back here, let me wiggle it around a little bit, see if I can get it out. And it's out. I had to move this bracket about 1mm. I just took this bolt off the bottom of it here, also an E12, and it allowed it to wiggle about 2mm, and I was just able to slip the alternator down through. I might not have needed to do that, but it was getting a little frustrating. So looking around here, not much cleanup needed. It's not too bad. No new sources of problems, it seems. So let me look at this alternator. It's squishing my chest right now, and see if I can figure out what's going on with it. All right, say hello to the upper side of this alternator that I never really got to clean properly. It's definitely caked in oil still. The back of it here. So I was able to clean out some of the front, and obviously the bottom from washing and spraying with whatnot or whatever. But back here is just completely coated. I might clean it up and pull off the voltage regulator, check the brushes, and see if it lights up. I don't know. I kind of don't feel like bolting it back in there for no reason though. So I don't know. The clutch is working. That's a good sign. I don't know. We'll see if that's Alright, old alternator, new alternator. Let's pull this out of the box and compare. This is a YWAI. I think online on Amazon it called itself premium gear. It's got a 3-year warranty. I don't know what that really includes though. I didn't think the look well enough, but kind of hoping the well, let's pull it open here. It looks like it's not even sealed. Just kind of shipped like this, no tape or anything on it. Just interesting. Well, it's shiny and clean. It's better I can say for this one. Let me set this down for just a second. Doesn't look like it bounced around too bad in the box. Let's see. Got a rubber band, pulling the bag on. I mean, form factor looks about right. That one, there's that one. Not identical, but it looks like they tried to cast it the same. It's got same terminals. Yeah. Well, it's a knockoff. It's surely intended to be so. Interesting. Okay, let's see if it fits in there. All right, got the new alternator up in here. I'm gonna put in this bolt loose and that tricky bolt up there real loose, and then I'm gonna try to tighten that one down up top, and then I'll get the bracket in that goes from this other bolt up top to this one down here, and then I should be in good shape. I hope so. It's shiny. All right, got this beauty bolted in here now. It's a lot easier to get that fourth funky bolt in, going back in now that I figured out how to position my hands back there. Oh, I don't want to forget to put that bolt on that bracket back on. And get the serpentine belt on. Okay, so order of events. So yeah, I've got the 2 leads bolted back on here also. I used the bolt that this came with, or the nut that this came with over here, instead of the dirty one that came with that was on the existing. And this I used the existing. And the bracket's back on here. This wire is snapped back on there properly. And so yes, order of events. I'm gonna get this bracket bolted back down. That bolt goes in there. And then I'm going to line up the serpentine belt, get that snap back on, and then I'm going to check out my turbo resonator delete pipe and check the O-ring on there and get that bolted back onto this bracket and see if I can get the fitment on there nice and clean, and then start putting hoses back on, connect the battery, and then turn it on and see if it charges from this alternator. So here's my turbo resonator delete pipe. I kind of wiped it down a little bit. Left the O-ring a little oily, just so I can get in and out of there nicely. And wiped out the inside of this down here. Had a little bit of oil in there, not much at all. And I'm going to try to get, well, the problem is it just never quite fit how I wanted it to fit down here. I push it up in there. There, that kind of seats in there, but it looks like the arm on the bottom of this thing is not quite flush with that bracket on the alternator. Let me wiggle it around a little bit and see if I can find a different angle, or maybe I have to bend that aluminum. I don't know. Now here's what I believe to be the problem with these stupid aluminum made in China, shipped to wherever in the US resonator delete pipe things. So this one right now, from the top, I just seated it in there properly into the turbo. The O-ring is flush all the way around, it's snug, nice and neat. And look at this gargantuous gap between the bracket it's supposed to bolt on and the actual arm itself coming down from the resonator. Resonator delete pipe. So in my mind, when I bend that now, it unseats the O-ring and the fitment is terrible up inside the turbo there, the output of the turbo. And I think that's probably the source of my hissing and undercharge of the turbo. I think that's terrible. But that's what you get for getting the cheap one on Amazon instead of the $100 aluminum piece, which is the same damn thing. It's just welded at a better angle. So I don't know, do I stick this thing in a vise and try to bend it? Do I put some kind of washers in here? Let's see what I can do here.
So here's my dad. He's working on the van. So there are like some puddles in the van is blowing, so it's not that hot. So
Do you remember what it is that I put? Don't try to make sure you're always pointing at something. Okay, not just the ground. Do you remember what it is that I put in here?
Yeah, the new one of those. Yeah. The motor, I forgot what it's
Alternator.
Yeah, the alternator motor, and those are the different kind of
Sockets.
Yeah, the different kind of sockets. And here's the knife that he uses. I have no idea what he uses it for.
No, I don't use that knife for anything. Not here. Oh, I used it to open the box.
Oh.
How about you? How old are you?
Oh, I am 5. And how old are you?
I am 47.
And our dad is
That's pretty old,
47.
right?
Yeah, look at the.
Don't get under here, Charlie. Don't.
There.
How about
There are also blue sockets.
Hey, how about you
but
stop
they're
that video
silver.
and make another one? Touch the button.
Bye guys.
job.
Make sure you press on the link and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. Okay. I forgot to make a video. I put that resonator delete pipe into a vise and gave it a little tiny tweak. It bent it closer, and I put one bolt on nice and tight, and I just left the other bolt with a gap in between the bracket and the resonator. The fitment's better, but it's not perfect, and I don't really love it. Then I got this lower resonator, this lower intercooler hose on there nice and tight with good clamps. The hose is relatively new, and I checked it out. It seems pretty supple and no cracks or holes or problems in there. Then I got the air hose back on here, snapped in, connector back on. Everything's kind of together. Serpentine belt's on. I'm gonna check underneath and see if I forgot anything. Don't have any extra nuts or bolts down here. Got to reconnect the battery, heat shield, and I'm gonna start it up and see if I have a battery light on or not. I'm gonna try it out. No extra bolts, no extra nuts, no extra anything. Everything's back together how I got it apart, except for my shiny new alternator down there. The belt looks like it's seated well across all the pulleys. Battery terminal's back on. Battery charge it's a little weak. Let's see. Yeah. Let's see, I've got maybe it's okay. 12.5 volts. It starts up. Alternator light went out right away, baby. Look at that. No battery light. Oh my God, finally. The Alternator Chronicles come to a finite close. I sure fucking hope anyway. Sorry for the language, children, but it's been a fiasco. Belt's cruising along. No funky noises. Well, no funky noises that aren't already there. Okay. No battery light. Looky there. I can use my radio again. I can put my windows up and down. I can put my fuses back in for all the fans. Oh man, it's a wonderful day today. I think I'm gonna close this video on that note and not all the other crap I got working on. But I do need to check out that coolant leak. I fear it's coming from the water pump. I just put the I think I put the original gasket back on, or maybe the metal gasket it came with, I can't remember, but I didn't put any kind of extra goo or any gasket maker gloppy stuff in there, so I don't know. I'll check it out and see if it keeps leaking. But my my coolant level sensor is broken, so maybe that's not a good combination. I gotta figure it out. Until next time. No battery light! Oh my God, I'm so happy.